Welcome back to the show, Shaun. Very delighted to have you join us here on Unabashed You, the special Family Stone edition.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Shaun and I watch it every year. As many of you who know me know that we made a point to watch it together, and now we're going to kind of, it was very hard yesterday not to want to talk about it immediately. We've both seen it before. It's not that we haven't seen it. I'm not sure. I think I'm winning Shaun over as a convert. There was some kind of discussion about him buying it and having his own copy. So that might be a thing now. This may be an annual event, an annual tradition.
Oh,
You love
okay.
traditions, love. So we're just going to take a moment, and I'm going to do some rapid fire with Shaun. Christmas related, nothing having to do with the Family Stone. Then we'll dive more into Family Stone.
Okay.
All right, rapid fire Christmas questions. What's the most memorable present you've ever received?
Ooh, I think when you first, just off the top of my head, other than like taking the whole family to New York or something big like that, the first thing that popped into my head when you asked that was when you first started dating Ron, and to win me over, he got me a TIE Fighter Star Wars toy, and I was
You
like,
did.
all right, that's all it took.
I don't even remember that. Oh my God. That is the best. I love that. Okay. Describe a present you wanted badly as a kid but never received.
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm sure, some sort of toy of some sort that my friends had that I thought was so cool, and uh, whatever was the flavor of the. Oh, I remember. I don't know if I ever asked for it for Christmas, but I remember when Power Rangers was super in, and you were very anti Power Rangers. You would not let me get any of the toys, I don't think, but
I guess it's okay. Okay.
But when we went the first time we went to Hawaii, a toy had washed up on the beach, the gods of Hawaii providing. And so I think I got the Red Ranger or something.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's interesting you say that because I don't have any remembrance of that. I'm not saying it's not true.
I
Why would I be anti-Power Rangers? I mean, you had Ghostbusters, you had the Ninja Turtles, you had
don't know.
Star Wars, you had a lot
Yeah,
of things. I don't know why I would be anti-Power Rangers. It's not like they had a weird message or anything.
maybe too violent.
No. I mean, think of it, they were far less violent than Star Wars. Anyway, that's an interesting memory. Interesting memory. Okay, name an outdoor, a winter activity you enjoy or would like to learn.
Ooh, skiing, ice skating. I've ice skated before. It's a lot of fun. I haven't skied or snowboarded in many, many, many years. But yeah, that's fun.
Okay, yeah, like that.
I feel like t tobogganing looks really cool, but I I feel that, it would take very little for me to fly off the track, or someone else is the front, like the one driving it, I guess. I mean, I don't think it has a steering wheel per se. I think you're just leaning with your body, but sometimes it's harder when someone else is driving, you know, and you're
Well,
like
yeah.
sort of
Okay.
powerless.
Are you talking about like in those shoots, kind of
Yeah,
like
like,
Olympics, like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, yes, yes. Wow. Yeah, that would be interesting. And yes, it would be hard not to be the one steering. Absolutely. What's your favorite holiday tradition?
being with family, obviously. I think the first thing that came to mind was our Christmas night, all the family gets together in the morning, really just the whole Christmas day. The morning of, even as adults, we do like shaking of the presents and You do a really great job of disguising them. And so it's just a fun guessing game and silly. And then, yeah, at night, when Poppy was still with us, of singing Five Golden Rings and
Right.
just seeing everybody and making food and eating it and laughing. Mm.
Yeah, those are good ones. Those are very good ones. Well, thank you for those memories. And what holiday movie or special do you watch over and over again?
A lot of the famous ones, Elf and um, Home Alone. Now, um, not the Family Jewels. The what? What's the movie we just watched?
Emily Stone.
The Family Stone. There we go. Family
Yeah,
Jewels is
that's
something
close.
else.
Close, yeah.
And the Invaders Zim Christmas special. But yeah, it
What
sort
was
of
the
just
last one
depends.
called? Invaders? I think you told me
Invaders Zim
that.
Christmas special. It was a show, an animated show, and they had one episode that was dedicated to Christmas, and it's unhinged. I enjoy it.
Okay. And you've mentioned that one before, and I just couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for those. Just like a little warm up. That brings us to talking about the family stone. And just to remind the listeners, this is starring Diane Keaton as Sybil, Craig T. Nelson as her husband Kelly, Sarah Jessica Parker plays Meredith. Everett is played by Dermot Mulrooney. He brings Meredith home to meet his family. His sisters, Amy, Rachel McAdams. He has a brother, Ben, Luke Wilson. And Claire Danes makes an appearance about, I don't know, halfway through, two-thirds of the way through as Meredith's sister, Julie. Okay, so
Spoilers if you haven't seen it.
if you don't already know the cast list. And then we have some other assorted characters. Another sister, Susanna. Thad is the hearing impaired son. His husband, Patrick. Brad is a lesser known character. He comes way toward two-thirds of the way through, very minor character as a potential love interest for Amy. And then the little one grandchild, Elizabeth, who is the daughter of Susanna, who is expecting, quite expecting. What are your first impressions of, let's just kind of go through I think of the main characters. What was your first impression of Meredith?
Same as the way the movie presents it, sort of ornery and uptight, and it's fun that she loosens up, by the end. I do feel that the family is sort of unfairly awful to her.
Did I feel that, or are you saying that?
I felt that. It, she has a good heart and she means well, but they just immediately sort of blast her.
And why do you think that is? Why do you think they have that kind of, reaction to her right away?
So having watched it a few times, it never fully clicked for me until the end when the mom is talking with the son about how much they want him. He always is like the perfect one.
Yeah.
And so he thinks he's found the perfect woman. So and everybody like sees it from the get-go. Like Luke Wilson from the get-go is like, yeah, you don't love her. Very casually
Yeah.
says that. And it's because he's trying to, his mom is gonna die, and he's trying to show like, I found the perfect person before
Yeah.
you go. I'm gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Or
And
at least
don't you,
that's how.
yeah. And I think the dad, Craig T. Nelson's character says, I'm afraid that he does not know himself in the conversation that they have behind closed doors about
Yeah.
and Meredith, he says, I'm afraid our son does not even know himself. Basically, if he's choosing her, she's a fine woman, she's all these things, but I don't think he knows himself. And yeah, I think he's trying to be perfect as he, thinks that this is somehow going to do something, which of course it can't. But then, do you remember the moment in the jewelry store when Thad asks or tells him, don't do
Don't
it,
do that. Yeah.
don't do it. And then he says, is this about mom? And and Dermot Mulroney character Everett says, yes, of course, it's about mom. So that was very, very
Oh,
honest that he realizes that.
and yeah, good point. I sort of, I guess, glossed over that. And I think also good writing to show that when the older brother is talking about, where he met her, he was going to go to this temple and never made it because he ended up hanging out with her.
Yeah,
And then later, when he's talking with Claire Danes, he's talking about how much he wants to see this temple, how much he
right,
wants to see the totem pole, because he wants to sort of get in touch with this other side of himself. And
right,
he got waylaid
right.
because of her. Her.
And did you notice, and it's interesting because the more you watch this movie, like any movie or anything, the more little tiny things you pick up. But there are two things I wanted to point out. One is, okay, the family does not like Meredith at all. Right away, you can tell that.
No, Rachel McAdams sets up and she does a very good job of playing like sort of awful, but she's also so charming that you sort of like her, even
Yeah,
though,
you don't fully hate her or dislike her. You're like, well, what, okay, so what? She's got a throat clearing tick, whatever. But I think maybe Rachel McAdams' character, Amy, saw something in her in Meredith that like this is not a good match for my brother, not a good match
uh,
at all. But what I was going to say is when the family finally meets Julie, and they have just met her. She fell out of the bus, so they're tending to her wounds. The entire family
the sister,
is
yes.
completely, yeah, Claire Danes is completely surrounded her, and they're all, oh my goodness, are you okay? Are you okay? The whole family versus when they first meet Meredith, and they're so awful to her.
Yeah, I think because it's a movie. I don't think logically,
No,
that would happen. But they've got I heard somebody put it well that rom-coms are essentially like a modern day fairy tale.
oh,
So you
okay.
sort of have to put that suspension of disbelief and go, this all happens over less than 2 days, right? Or
Well,
something
but
like
when you
that.
see the way Meredith presents herself, it's very perfect looking, but it's very standoffish. Like, do not get too close. I mean, she doesn't let Kelly hug her, right? When she meets the dad out at the car, he wants to hug her, and she is just rigid and gives off that feeling where I think the Julie character comes off as, very warm and open and
Hmm.
more receptive. And I think that was just really exaggerated in the directing of the movie to show us that. Yeah,
Yeah. You in a movie you only have so much time, right? So everything has to be expedited.
right,
Um, yeah, so they have to like her right away. Or if you wanted to make it longer, you have to give them reasons of, oh, I brought you all everything, I brought you all stuff. And
right.
um, yeah,
Who do you think the most together person is?
are we talking emotionally or
Like as you see the movie and like, well, who seems the most healthy in terms of, just like, I don't know, just the least neurotic.
probably Luke Wilson?
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he seems to know who he is. He seems to meet Meredith and not judge her from the get-go and look past and go like, oh, this is, someone that's worth loving and enjoying and just needs a little bit of extra, like, hey, relax, put your hair down, like you're safe, you're fine. Um, he just has a zen quality to him.
Yes. Yes.
Who would you say?
I would have said the dad, Kelly.
Yeah, that was probably my second.
Kelly
No,
and Ben also, but and I'm not talking about the like the second tier characters, Susanna,
the husband.
Patrick. I mean, they're all seem healthy and pretty together. But of the
Uh-huh.
main, kind of the first tier of characters. I feel like the dad is just very loving, very open. I mean, we only see him lose his cool once, and that's when he feels like they, have really put his son into an uncomfortable situation. And that's the dinner scene in the dining room
It's
when,
enough.
yeah, when he pounds on, that's enough, pounds on the table. That's the only time we see him really kind of lose it.
And a
And
very powerful moment.
oh my gosh, so powerful. What do you think? Now this is interesting. I didn't even have this in my little cheat sheet and notes. So Julie starts off that awkward conversation with, do you care about the race of the child, right? And that kind of right? And so it feels a little awkward, but
Yeah.
everybody kind of receives it like okay, and she's very apologetic and they're okay. When Meredith starts chiming in about nature versus nurture and all of that, it goes south very quickly. And I'm wondering if some of that was exaggerated by the fact that it came from Meredith as opposed to another character, kind of like the kill the messenger. She's the one that said those things that were kind of awkward. What's your take on that?
I think if you already dislike someone, anything they say, right, you're gonna take the wrong way. You're already gonna have your eyes like halfway rolled up, ready to go. So she was doomed
She
from
couldn't
the
win.
start. Yeah, and she sort of fumbles it. I can relate a tiny bit as far as being someone who wants to ask, uh, or I think both of us are actually, of
Yes.
like, I don't want the small stuff, like, let's get down to who you are, what you've been through, and then bring up, and we're both the devil's advocates as far as like, well, what about looking at it this way? That doesn't mean I necessarily agree with it, but isn't it interesting to look at it from, this perspective? And so I don't think she's trying to be offensive, but she just puts her foot in her mouth,
Right.
immediately.
Yes. Oh, so true. The other thing that's interesting to me about the Everett, hopping over to the Dermot Mulroney Everett character, and when he first meets Julie, and I'd have to rewatch it again with this thought in mind, but I'm pretty sure that he did not smile at all until he met Julie. As soon
Mm,
as Julie, she's coming off the bus, he smiles. Now he has a light and a radiance that we have not seen before.
hmm
Comes
yeah.
alive in this really incredible way.
So that brings me to a good question or point. I want to know your thoughts on it. That's the part of the movie to me that feels the creepiest is yeah, obviously again fairy tale caricatures, but he like turns on a dime so quick to this woman that he just met. And like I almost could not handle my insides when he said, well, just to the Claire Danes character, for those of you listening, the sister that has just come in, and he's like, well, try on this ring that I bought for your sister, and like practically forces the ring on her hand. She's like, oh, like, no, that's inappropriate. I don't want to put on my sister's ring. And you could sort of tell in his eyes and stuff, like this whole time he sort of had a thing for her, like, oh, just put on the ring. And then it gets stuck. If you were in Claire Danes' shoes, like, wouldn't you just run screaming?
Well, yeah. And I wonder if some of that motivation on his part was obviously he's not one to be spontaneous or just well, spontaneous. I wonder if on some level in the writing they thought if his character thought if this ring fits, it's another sign. You know what I mean? But more on a
Yeah.
subconscious level than on a conscious level. Because yeah, why would you put your grandmother's wedding ring on your girlfriend's sister's finger? It's all very odd. And even Sybil, Diane Keaton says, isn't that bad luck? When
I
she says that.
this isn't even real. And I was like, I need to get out of here. I can't, I can't be around this. It's so just awkward. So that part of the movie for me is like, you really have to suspend your disbelief
Right.
that she's wouldn't be like, you're a monster. You're dating my sister, and now you're flirting with me, and you're putting your ring on my finger. Like,
Uh,
get lost, dude.
okay, so that would be one of my questions was most awkward moment. So that would be an awkward moment. And then we talked
The
about the
awkward is too soft a word for it.
okay, whatever the next level term.
Horrific.
Yeah, horrific moment. Okay.
I have a question for you.
Sure, sure.
What connects you? Like, what do you connect with most in the movie? What keeps bringing you back?
I think it's the mess of family. It's
You love you. For those of you listening, she loves movies with families where everyone is sad and angry with each other, and then there's
well,
tumults, and
I
then
think
eventually things get worked through, and that is your genre.
yeah, it's a slice of life. It's funny. It's interesting. Well, it's an ensemble piece. So see the family dynamics and some of what doesn't work in their family and some of what does work in their family. And these touching, lovely moments. And then, yeah, neuroses. I mean, I just characters who have flaws and who are working through things, and then other characters who kind of have it together, like Ben and like Kelly, the dad, the brother. Yeah, and then some kind of resolution for somebody at the end. And in this, well, we won't get to the ending yet, but there's a lot of resolving of things by the end of this movie. Okay, so one thing I wanted to mention about uh when Ben sees Meredith for the first time, it seems like
And is Luke Wilson?
yeah, Luke Wilson
Okay.
and seeing Sarah Jessica Parker. She's on the stairs coming down. I feel like he's seeing something in her that no one else does. Like he sees her freak flag, her inner freak flag, that she just needs to get unbuttoned a little bit and just kind of, but it's interesting because I don't think that kind of a stereotypical character would really pay much attention to somebody so uptight and buttoned up. What do you think he's thinking of her when he first, I mean, this is his brother's girlfriend.
Well, again, it's a movie. I think if it were real life and your brother all of a sudden started openly hitting on your girlfriend, it would come to blows, probably, or at least very strong words. Um, but that's planted in there because it's the movie, and we can see from the get-go, like, oh, okay, he might be good for her. Opposites attract, and then we finally see later when he's looking for her and they go to the bar, um, that she does have this other side
Right,
where she can let loose and have fun. And I think even Luke Wilson calls out at some point, I think it's that character who says, like, you got to stop trying to impress them.
right,
Like, just don't bother.
right.
Just be you. Just have fun.
Yeah,
And I think she finally does that, when she invites the Rachel McAdams had slept with this guy, and then she invites that guy over
Brad.
for Christmas. Yeah, she's got this sort of rascally sense to her. And then when she gives out the portraits to everybody,
Yeah,
even though that was it was showing like, oh no, she was very thoughtful.
right. Um, so and then when bouncing back to Everett, because you mentioned this, and I feel like when he sees Julie for the first time, he sees a piece of himself that has been missing until that moment, and it's the piece that wants to see the totem pole, like you said, it's the piece that wanted to go to the Buddhist monastery. That whole piece,
Yeah.
even though they haven't had the totem pole conversation yet, and obviously it's happening on a very subconscious level. But yeah, very interesting.
Is that healthy though? Is he is he trying to fix himself by finding a different person? In movie logic, it's fine, but in real life, would he? Oh, she's outgoing. Like that's I want to be outgoing. That's perfect for me. When it's like, well, got to work on yourself first.
Right. Yes. Um, Here's just a funny aside that I just thought of for the first time watching the movie. Why on earth do Thad and Patrick have to stay at the inn? Think about this. They were all raised in this house. They have 5 kids. Ben still has his childhood room. Amy still has her childhood room up in the attic thing. And
Uh-huh.
Everett still has his childhood room with the trophies in the drawer. How come Thad doesn't have a room suddenly? Maybe it got turned into a gym or a library.
Um, that's a good question. Well, so the deaf brother and the pregnant sister, as I will now refer to them,
Oh, that too, Susanna. Exactly. Where's her room? Yes.
they're really just there. That was one of the things I wrote down is they're really just there as set dressing.
Okay.
Like they're not full characters. They're just used when they're needed.
Right.
So like, oh, the deaf brother who's also gay is used at the table scene for, oh, she's Meredith is being rude. And then he's not really in it a whole lot more other than them talking about, yeah, the adoption and
Ring.
then them using sign language throughout.
Right.
The pregnant sister, she doesn't really have a storyline. Her husband is away on business. She's gonna have a baby soon. That's her character. It's still nice having them around, but
Yeah.
there's not like, and maybe there isn't enough time to develop their characters. Maybe if it were a limited series, we'd get a little bit of each sibling, but they're really just there to move things
Yeah, that's true.
forward.
One of the sweetest moments, and that was another one of my like little categories, was maybe tender is a better word, but when Susanna goes upstairs, the sister Sean's talking about, when the sister goes upstairs because somebody told her that Sybil is napping, the Diane Keaton character, and she lays down next to her mom
Mm.
on bed, and then the mom turns around, and I almost can't say it right now. I'm going to start crying. Susanna says, "Who else knows?" So such a sweet moment of Susanna. And then that's kind of my question. I mean, yes, I find it a very sweet and tender moment, but why do you think Susanna kind of has pieced together that mom's cancer is back?
Well, if the oldest brother is going to marry Meredith because his mom is dying, then he knew before the movie started.
I don't think he knows that that it's back. I think they all went through her first cancer journey because remember when he finally figures out when Diane Keaton tells him, "Honey, I'm sick," then he realizes, oh no, it's happening now. Whereas maybe he thought it's happening, who knows when. I'm not
Hmm.
convinced that he already knew. I think
Okay.
that there is that feeling of, the other shoe dropping. When is the other shoe going to drop? And for some reason, Susanna kind of has already pieced that together. And for reasons we don't really know when she says,
Well,
who else knows?
and Luke Wilson's character learns about it when him and his dad are at the football like park
Right,
or
right.
stadium seating at the park or whatever. So,
Does he
but
ask?
everybody has an inkling, I think. Everybody sort of senses it
Yeah.
because nobody's like, wait, what's going on? Everyone sort of is like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember if the Ben character asked his dad, if he asked him or if he like said, I feel like he asks. Yeah, oh, when did you find out? Wasn't that kind of what he
Mm,
asked? Something like that. Like, so he kind of has an inkling also. When did you find out? Oh my God.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a little slice of real, yeah, a slice of life for sure. Um, did you think the sibling relationships were pretty spot on?
Uh, the biggest difference for me is the oldest brother. I feel like he's so doesn't is nothing like anybody else. Well, I don't know.
For Everett.
I might just have it out for him.
Oh,
The
so
cast the
you're not
casting
fond
is
of Everett.
well, I'm not as the actor, like I think that's a hard part to play,
Yeah.
or if you've got to be sort of dissatisfied the whole movie and then all of a sudden be from dissatisfied to infatuated with someone who's completely new, which isn't a great look. Uh, but the casting is great, and I wanted to note that the anybody that's listening that hasn't watched it, I'm sure it's on one of the streaming things. Give it a look, even if you're like, yeah, whatever. It's chocked full of such small moments that I'm sure the actors and directors crafted together, and it's great because there's not like a dull moment.
No.
Each moment builds towards the story. Each moment is filled with, a joke or like it keeps going and it fires really quickly. It's very well made.
Right. Yes, I would agree with that. I would agree. It holds up. I remember, I feel like I saw it in the theaters and really like, oh yeah, it's all right. But it's one of those, what I call a B movie that in the rewatching, it grows. I mean, my appreciation for it and my being able to observe different things or different dynamics or different thoughts has really grown through the course of watching it. And I watch it each year. Is there anything that any other observations that you made seeing it this time? Because now you've seen it a handful of times.
Again, just well crafted. That final shot of the portrait, and then the daughter and the guy that she was probably gonna get married to
Brad.
maybe someday or whatever, the side guy. The reflection, just the choices of some of that, which I'm not usually looking at that sort of stuff, but noticing it this time. Um, I had a question for you.
Yes.
Who would you end up with?
Oh my gosh, those are my options. Ben or Kelly.
Okay.
You're saying if I were
If you
like
were invited to the
touring,
family,
like who would I? Yeah,
yeah.
Ben or Kelly. Ben would keep it fresh just all the time. And Kelly would be just this soft, gentle, stable force.
Yeah.
Okay, right back at you. How about for you? Which character?
Yeah, either Luke Wilson's character, although him smoking pot all the time, I'm not a huge fan of. Uh, or the husband of the deaf brother who
Actor.
cooks already and is very handsome. Like, hey,
There you go.
and yeah, yeah, complete package.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
And so going to like you're talking about family drama, I would appreciate this sort of family drama more because there's so much levity. You
Uh,
know, unlike that one movie you showed me with the brother that died in the boating accident, and it's just like nothing but heavy clouds the entire movie.
right. Ordinary people. Yeah,
Oh,
ordinary people.
yeah. This has a lot of levity in
Does.
it. So I don't mind the family drama if it's got some ha-has
Right,
in it.
right. And I noticed this time, maybe for the first time, at least it seems like for the first time, that the opening scene is a department store where Meredith and Everett are buying Amy a gift. Okay, so our very next scene is at the house where Sybil is holding an ornament. She's kind of holding on to and sort of playing around a little bit with this ornament, and she's gazing, looking out, when, or I don't even know where she, doesn't matter, she's gazing. And then, so you get to the end of the movie, and it's the last ornament that's put on the tree, and Amy puts the ornament almost like she's carrying on the tradition of her mother. She's putting, oh my gosh, I'm starting to get verklempt.
Me too. Me too.
She's putting the ornament on the tree in remembrance of her mom, and then she and Brad start making out. Reflection in the glass, you see that she has on the ring her mother wore. which is this, rectangular stone. It's very big, it's very bold, but she has very clearly has on the ring her mother wore. It's, it's so sweet.
Yeah, very, very well done. Because there's a lot of movies like that you were discussing the other day, like Four Christmases, and there's a lot of family Christmas movies, but I think this one definitely stands above many of the others.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, yeah. Very, yeah, it's just for me it really holds up. It just really holds up.
And sometimes B movies are like that. Sometimes you don't want
Yes.
like you don't want to go to that Michelin star restaurant. You just want a solid taco shop, which
Yeah,
is really makes a good burrito or a good taco.
that's right. And the A ones, I feel like a lot of times come at too high of a cost for me emotionally, and I don't want to revisit those emotions like on an ongoing annual basis. Whereas this one definitely has the emotion, but like you say, it has the levity, the sweetness. Do you like how it ends? Do you like that
I mean,
every,
it's sad.
I mean, it's sad because mom is now not with him anymore. And it looks like everybody else, though, has been able to get to a better place in their life.
Yeah, again, fairy tale ending. There's I don't know if you could go from one Christmas to the other with a like loved one wife swap or not wife swap, girlfriend swap, however you call that, and everyone be good and ready to go. But in fairy tale land, yeah, I think it we're gonna have to look up who wrote it because
Yes,
they did a phenomenal job of like a
good.
Christmas present wrapping a bow on it.
That's right, wrapping a bow. That's right. And the only character who doesn't, is Kelly, but I think Kelly feels so content with the life he had with Sybil and the fact that now his children are home, their loved ones, we have a few grandkids that he's content. He's not obviously he's grieved, but he's not, it's not like they fixed him up with a neighbor or something. I mean, he's content.
Oops. It would be I think, yeah, a little bit of bad taste if in the last scene he's with some random woman
The
that you've
neighbor,
never seen before. You're like, hey, well, he moved on real quick.
yeah. Yeah, I will end my little section here, and if you have anything else you want to add, with what I think is the most underrated performance and underrated actor is Luke Wilson. I think Luke Wilson it's such an understated, deliberate performance, and I just feel like he doesn't get the due he deserves.
Mm. Yeah, I think they're all great.
Yes.
They've all got to bring different dynamics to it. Um, but sure, yeah, understated. Yeah,
I mean, when I look at his career as a whole, it's like, what, I mean, his brother obviously talented too, but he gets a lot of the parts, so to speak. I mean, we know him more readily from the different, you know, parts that he's had. I feel like Luke Wilson is underutilized.
I think you need to become Luke Wilson's manager.
Yeah.
Get him some more work.
Yeah, and you're right. Everybody did do a fabulous job. Even the second tier people like Susanna, that sweet moment where she's watching Meet Me in St. Louis and Kelly dad says, my Susanna, such a sweet little moment. You know,
Yeah, the people you don't see as much almost need to do a better job because you don't have as much time to fall in love with them.
yeah,
They have way less screen time for you to care.
right.
So they've really got to sell
Gotta bring it.
it.
Is there anything you want to say in conclusion about our time? Enjoy. It was so hard yesterday not to start talking about all this, wasn't it?
I know. Um, no, I'm thankful that we got to watch the movie together as a family. Um, And yeah, I'm thankful that I think as even when I was young, you would take me to movies. And then I remember going to Claremont Square and then maybe getting food after or just driving back and talking about a movie. And um, art is cool. I like it. And it's fun to, you know, have a parent that instills that and encourages it. And I think, yeah, we'll have to do this every
Again.
year. And I just uh, I don't wish that drama upon our family. The like, I don't want to all of a sudden end up with my brothers. I don't want to end up with Tamara. I don't want
Oh, God.
to have like, yeah, weird. Yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, but Christmas memories. Let's go.
yeah, that's right. All right. Thanks so much. It was what a just a fun, fun time this was.
Thank you for having me.